I used to believe marriage was the one thing you could count on, the one commitment that actually meant something. That when someone stood in front of their family, looked you in the eyes and said, "I choose you," that it was real, that it was permanent, that it was safe. I was married 3 times, not because I'm reckless, not because I don't take it seriously, but because I kept believing in people who had already decided I wasn't worth the truth. The first one used the most vulnerable moment of my life against me. The second one hid behind someone else's loyalty to cross lines I didn't even know existed. And the third one I found out about in a hospital hallway, standing under fluorescent lights, while a nurse picked up a phone and said 2 words that ended my entire life. Here, if you think you know where any of these are going, you don't. Story 1. The delivery room. Her name was Claire. We met in our late 20s, married by 30. She was warm and grounded, and she made me feel like I'd finally stopped running from something I couldn't name. When she got pregnant, I thought that was it. The final piece. The thing that would make everything feel complete. And for a while, it did. We painted the nursery together, argued about names for weeks. I remember lying next to her with my hand on her stomach, feeling our daughter kick and thinking, this is the safest I've ever felt in my life. The delivery was hard, 31 hours, there were complications. At one point, the doctors asked me to step out, and I stood in that hallway bargaining with a God I wasn't sure I believed in. Yeah, when I heard my daughter cry for the first time, I collapsed into a chair and sobbed. Not sad tears, relief, gratitude. The kind of crying that comes from a place so deep you didn't know it existed. Claire recovered, our daughter was healthy, and for about 4 months, everything was exactly what I'd imagined fatherhood would be. Exhausting, beautiful, hours. Then Claire got distant, not all at once, in degrees. She stopped touching me, not just physically. She stopped reaching for my hand, stopped leaning into me on the couch, stopped making eye contact when we talked. I thought it was postpartum. I suggested therapy. She said she was fine. One night, after the baby was finally asleep, I sat down next to her and asked what was wrong. Directly, no dancing around it. And she said something I will carry with me until the day I die. And she said that watching me cry in that delivery room changed how she saw me. That seeing me break down like that, sobbing, shaking, barely able to stand, made her unable to see me the same way. She said she needed a partner who was strong, that my reaction to our daughter's birth made her feel like she was the only adult in the room. I didn't say anything for a long time. I just sat there, processing the idea that loving my daughter too visibly was the thing that ended my marriage. She didn't use the word weak. She didn't have to. It was in every pause, every look she gave me from across the room, every time she flinched when I tried to hold her. I found out 2 months later, she'd been talking to someone from her gym, a guy she described to her friend as someone who has it together. They'd been texting for weeks. The affair started the month after she told me about the delivery room. She didn't leave because I cried. She left because my tears gave her permission to stop pretending she ever wanted to stay. I still think about that hallway sometimes. That moment where I thought I was the luckiest man alive. Turns out I was just the last one to know that the best moment of my life was the beginning of the end of my marriage. After Claire, I told myself I'd never let someone punish me for being honest about how I felt. That the next person I let in would be someone who could hold all of me, not just the parts that looked strong. I was right about one thing. The next person could hold all of me. The problem was, she could hold everyone else too. Story 2. The sleepwalker. I married Priya 2 years after my divorce. Yet she was everything Claire wasn't. Emotionally open, physically affectionate, fiercely independent. She didn't need me to be anything other than what I was. At least, that's what I thought. Priya had a best friend named Jaden. They'd known each other since college. He was at our wedding. He was at every birthday, every holiday, every random Tuesday dinner. I liked him at first. He was funny, easy to be around. He called me brother. The first time it happened, we were all at our place after a dinner party. Jaden had too much to drink and crashed on the couch. I woke up around 3 in the morning to use the bathroom and found him in our bed. Not on Priya's side, in the middle, between us. His arm draped over her. I stood in the doorway for what felt like 10 minutes. My brain couldn't process it. As I shook him awake, and he looked at me completely blank and said, "Sorry man, I sleepwalk sometimes." Priya didn't even wake up. Or at least she pretended not to. The next morning I told Priya what happened. She laughed. Actually laughed. She said Jaden has always been like that. He's a deep sleeper. He's done it at other people's houses too. It's not a big deal. She said I was being insecure. That word, insecure, it landed like a slap. Because after Claire, I was terrified of being seen as the jealous, fragile husband, so I swallowed it. I told myself she was probably right, that I was projecting old trauma onto a harmless situation. It happened again 2 weeks later. Same thing. Jaden sleeping over, Jaden ending up in our bed. This time, I didn't even wake him. I just went to the couch, in my own house, in my own marriage. I gave up my side of the bed for a man who called me brother. The third time, I installed a camera in the hallway. Not to spy on Priya. I genuinely wanted to prove to myself that I was overreacting, that Jaden really was just sleepwalking, that I was being the paranoid ex-husband I was afraid of becoming. The footage showed Jaden walking to our bedroom at 2 a.m, eyes open, fully awake. He paused at the door, looked toward the camera, not at it, but in its direction, like he knew the layout of the house better than I did. Then he opened the door, walked in, and closed it behind him. He wasn't sleepwalking. He was walking, deliberately, confidently, into my bedroom, into my bed, next to my wife. When I showed Priya the footage, she didn't gasp. She didn't look shocked. She looked annoyed. Oh, like I'd broken a rule by looking too closely at something I was supposed to ignore. She said, "You recorded us? What is wrong with you?" Not, "What is wrong with him?" Not, "Oh my God, that's terrifying." Her first instinct was to make me the villain for finding out. I kicked Jaden out that night. He didn't fight it. He didn't even look surprised. He just grabbed his jacket and said, "She'll call me by Friday." He was right. She called him by Wednesday. The divorce took 4 months. Priya never admitted anything happened beyond cuddling. She told our mutual friends I was controlling and paranoid, that I couldn't handle her having a close male friend. Half of them believed her. The thing about that story that still keeps me up at night isn't the betrayal itself. It's the 3 times I walked to the couch instead of trusting what my gut was screaming at me. It's how quickly I abandoned my own instincts because I was afraid of being called insecure. Sometimes the most dangerous thing in a marriage isn't the person who lies to you. It's the version of yourself that's too afraid to hear the truth. 2 marriages, 2 different women, 2 completely different ways of being dismantled. After Priya, I swore I was done. Not just with marriage, with trust. With the entire idea that another person could hold your life in their hands and not crush it. But time does what it does. It softens the edges. It makes you forget how the last wound felt just enough to let someone new get close. Her name was Nadia. And the way I found out who she really was, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Story 3. He's here. Nadia and I met through a mutual friend at a fundraiser. She was a nurse, compassionate, grounded, sharp. She had this calm energy that made everyone around her feel steady. After 2 marriages that ended in chaos, steady was exactly what I was looking for. We dated for a year before I proposed. We were married for 3 before the night that changed everything. It was a Thursday, normal day. I was at work when I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. A woman's voice, professional, controlled, told me Nadia had been brought into the emergency room. Car accident. She was conscious, but they needed me there. I don't remember the drive. I remember the parking lot. I remember the automatic doors opening and the smell of antiseptic hitting me like a wall. I walked to the front desk. Why, and before I could say anything, the nurse behind the counter asked, "Are you here for Nadia?" I said yes. I told her my name, and she paused. Not a normal pause. The kind of pause where someone is deciding how much of the truth to give you. She picked up the phone, pressed a button, and said, "He's here." Not, "Her husband is here." Not, "The family has arrived." Just, "He's here." Like they were expecting me. Like my arrival was a problem that needed to be managed. A doctor came out within 30 seconds. Too fast. That's what hit me first. The speed. They'd been waiting for me. He walked me to a small room. Not Nadia's room. A consultation room. Beige walls, 2 chairs, a box of tissues on the table. The kind of room where they deliver news that changes your life. He told me Nadia was stable, minor injuries. Then he said that there was another passenger in the vehicle. I asked who. He said, "Her husband." I felt the floor tilt. Not figuratively. I physically grabbed the armrest of the chair because the room moved. I said, "I'm her husband." And the doctor looked at me with the most careful expression I've ever seen on another human being's face and said, "Sir, there's another man here who is saying the same thing." Nadia was married, not was, is. She had a husband. A legal, actual first husband. A man named David who lived 40 minutes away in a house she apparently stayed at 3 to 4 nights a week. The nights she told me she was pulling double shifts at the hospital. David and I ended up in the same waiting room. We didn't speak for the first 20 minutes. We just sat there. 2 men in plastic chairs, and both wearing wedding rings that meant nothing. both trying to do math that didn't add up. He broke the silence first. He said, "How long?" I said, 3 years. He closed his eyes and said, 7. 7 years. He'd been married to her for 7 years. I was the second marriage, the illegal one, the one she built on nights and weekends while maintaining a whole other life 40 minutes up the highway. The hospital staff had figured it out before either of us did. That's why the nurse picked up the phone. That's why they put me in a separate room. They'd already met David. They already knew. Nadia tried to talk to both of us that night. She cried. She apologized. She said she loved us both and couldn't choose. Like we were options on a menu. Like commitment was a buffet. David filed for divorce that week. I couldn't file because, and legally, I was never married. Our ceremony, our vows, our rings. None of it existed in the eyes of the law. 3 years of my life. And I was a ghost in my own marriage. I still have the ring. I don't know why. Maybe because it's the only proof that what I felt was real, even if what she promised wasn't. 3 marriages, 3 women, 3 versions of the same lie. That someone can stand in front of you, hold your hands, say the words, and not mean a single one of them. I don't tell these stories for sympathy. I tell them because someone watching this right now is sitting next to a person they trust completely, and maybe they should ask one more question. Look a little closer. Trust their gut a little harder. Marriage isn't supposed to be a place where you lose yourself. But for some of us, it's exactly where we disappeared. If any of that hit you, and I mean really hit you, tell me which story in the comments. I read every single one. Like this if you made it to the end. Subscribe to Read Loot because the next video is already written, and it's worse. Take care of yourselves, and take care of each other, because clearly not everyone will.